Hi, I'm Laura Houston, and this is Simple Art at Home. And welcome. Thanks for watching. Before we start our lesson today, I want to give a big congratulations to two of our Anaheim Elementary students who were winners of the Anaheim Public Utilities Mask Design Contest. And that is lhouston. He is a fourth grader at Edison, and also Frida. She is a fifth grader at Orange Grove Elementary School. If you want to see their mask designs, you can go to Anaheim Elementary website and you can check out their mask designs there. So good job, Frida and lhouston. And one more thing before we start our lesson. So many of you sent in fabulous student art to me, so let's take a look at that right now. Thank you so much for sending in student art. I just love seeing your work. I always keep my email right down there at the bottom of the screen. So today's lesson is geared towards first graders, second graders, and third graders, and it's going to be in the style of Mexican folk art. And what we're going to do today is it's symmetrical. And you will need a light source such as a window to trace. You're going to also need something round to trace. You will need paper, pencil, and something to color with, and hopefully you have a black pen or a black crayon that you can outline with. I'll show you more when I get to the table, so I'll be right there. Okay, so I wanted to start with a square paper. So what I'm going to do is show you how to turn a rectangular piece of paper into a square. You just take the top corner and fold it down so that it meets perfectly down here at the bottom, and then fold your finger along the crease. And when you open it up, before you open it up rather, I suggest folding what's left over, and then you can use that fold, that shadow, that crease to cut, or you can just put your, if you have a ruler or a straight edge, put it right there and just cut it right off. And that's a way that you could have a square piece of paper like this, okay? So for today's activity, we are going to start by folding our paper in half. And I'm being very careful, and I'm creasing it carefully with my finger. And then I will open it up again and turn it and fold it one more time. So when I open my paper, it will have 4 equal sections. It's divided into fourths. Okay. Now I'm going to need something round to trace. So I think, you know what? I'm just going to grab this cup that I have supplies in. You know, you can use anything that you want. Let's see, because I'm going to make a sun. There we go. I love using items from the kitchen or whatever I have in my room. You know, that's why this show is called Simple Art at Home. We just use whatever we have. I also have this little pasta measuring device because I want to do a smaller circle inside of my larger circle. I'm going to try to center it, but we know it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to just do the best we can. There we go. And now I have a smaller circle inside of a larger circle. And I am going to trace over these. If you have a black crayon or a black colored pencil, hopefully you have a black marking pen, that is best. But if you don't, just use something that you think would work. Remember, this is your artwork. I am not grading you on it. You know, there's no wrong way. I'm just offering suggestions to you. I'm just hoping that, you know, I can show you something and it sparks some creativity. Well, I'm gonna have to fix that a little bit, but it's okay. Sometimes it's hard to trace over when there are folds or creases in the paper. And you know, I am not perfect. I am oftentimes learning right along with you. Okay, so I have a circle within a circle. Now I'm going to focus on this quadrant up here. So if you can imagine, if I put my ruler here, I'm going to draw only on this side and up here. So just this section. You know what I'm going to do? Just so you can see this a little better, don't do this because you're not going to want this pencil line down the center of your paper. But I am just doing this so that you can see a little more clearly from your computer screen. Okay, I'm working only in this section, and we're going to use a folding technique later to trace. So I'm going to leave a space, and I'm going to draw a little line like this that kind of matches the curve of that outer circle. And I'm going to bring it right here to this line. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to go from this line. I'm going to leave a space. I'm going to try to leave the same space. And again, make a ray of sun that goes right to that line. And then I'm going to add one more that's a little smaller. And what I'm going to do is make a little point with my pencil as a visual of where to stop, so I can kind of make it symmetrical. You may have already learned the word symmetry in your math class. Symmetry is also used a lot in art. And this is all we're going to do right here for this phase. For the next phase of the art project, you're going to need to move to a window, and I'm going to show you right now. So let's take a look. So here I am standing in front of my sliding glass door. There's glass here, and I am going to fold my paper in half. And the idea is that I'm going to use the sunlight that's coming naturally through the window so that I can trace. If I had this on my desk, I wouldn't be able to see through. So I'm just going to follow the line from the other side. And then I'm going to just do this half right here. Let's see what we have so far. And now I'm going to fold my paper on the other half and flip it over and trace this design. I'm going to start here. I'm just going slowly and carefully. It's kind of hard, you know, you have to get used to tracing with your arms up. It's not as easy, but you know, this is not about being perfect. We're just learning something new and trying a new kind of art today. But even my arms get a little shaky holding them up like this, so it is a little bit harder, but it's a method that works really well. I'm just going to finish this here. And I'm not quite finished because I still want to do this design, but let me open it up and show you what I have so far. Now we have a complete design that's symmetrical. And remember, symmetrical means that it's a mirror image on both sides. I'm going to change my pen to the thinner pen for this little flowery design in the corner. They do sell light boxes, so professional artists use light boxes to carry out this method, but they're very expensive. However, I did find a light box that's made by Crayola. It's about $20 and it works great too. But windows work the same for free. So let's see how this looks so far. So there we have matching little natural leaf designs. I'm folding my paper and turning it over, and I'm going to do the same thing here. And I am almost finished. You can just imagine all the fun designs that you can make using this method. I have another video online on the same, simple art at home where I use this method to make mandalas. And they look like they'd be very, very complicated, but you can actually trace on a window, and that's what I do in the lesson. And I'm almost finished. Some people tape the paper up to the glass, but I find that it doesn't allow me to turn the paper around for tracing. So there we go, and now I'm ready to color it. Okay, so I was watching that video right along with you, and I realized that I did not show you how to draw the corner design. If you want, it's completely optional, but if you'd like to draw it, I am going to show you, and then you can go back to the window if you want to keep tracing. So if you're going to do the design, I would start with it's almost like an upside down teardrop shape right here, and then, or a little raindrop. And then you have another smaller shape on the side and one that matches on this side, and then a little smaller right here and one more. Now you can do any design that you want. There, and I just end it with a circle. I'll go over that with a pen so you can watch again. Maybe you want to draw hearts in the corner. Or maybe you want to draw clouds in the corner. This was a pattern that I saw when I was researching Mexican folk art. It came up often, so I thought I would try to incorporate it into our sun design. There. So that's how you would draw that if you want to. Okay, so the next part that we're going to do is I'm going to add a snake design in here in the middle. If that seems too overwhelming to you, you do not have to do it at all. But if you'd like to try, I encourage you to go ahead and try along with me. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to draw his little snake nose. His little snake nose and mouth is kind of round like this. And then it goes out wider right here where his jaw is. And then it goes in narrow where his body is. I'm just going to curve it right around here. And maybe just make a tail curve over this way a little bit. And then I'll make it get a little wider right here. Let me trace over that with a pen so you can see it. We'll start with his little nose and jaw area. Maybe you want to put a lizard here. Let's put some nostrils on him and maybe 2 snake eyes. You can put anything. Maybe you want to draw a pattern in here. It doesn't have to be a snake. Remember, this is your art project. So I mentioned that this is kind of in the style of Mexican folk art, and when I was researching folk art, it's anything that is handmade using traditional methods, and oftentimes the artist is not professionally trained. They are self-taught, and in Mexico, folk art is influenced by either nature, landscapes, and religion. You often see birds, flowers, and suns in folk art. And if you're interested in learning more, you can visit the Museum of International Folk Art website. That's the Museum of International Folk Art. Just Google that, and they have a wonderful website with different examples. And I'm going to show you how I colored my art, I did bright colors because Mexican folk art usually has beautiful, bright, and happy colors. They almost remind me of a celebration. Since this is a sun, or almost an abstract simplified sun, I used red in the middle, and I colored the snake green, and I put yellow in the center circle. And I used, you can do any color you want. I used blue for the smaller rays of sun. And over here, I did a contrast. I first colored the ends, the tips yellow, and then I went over it with red. And where they overlap, it kind of made an orange. And then for these little designs, I used different shades of green. These two are dark, and then lighter, and the lightest. And then if you can kind of see, just to add interest, I added some blue very lightly in between. Not everywhere, but just lightly. Here's another example of how I colored one. Again, this time I didn't put blue in. I just used all red and yellow. I left the center white, but everything else I used similar colors. Now, folk art, it was often, can be used within the community, but it can also be sold as a form of income for people, which is a great thing. So tourists would, come and purchase folk art. And you often see it on pottery and tiles. Sometimes folk art is painted on leather belts and purses. It could also be on wood carvings. I have another art show, an episode on alebrijes. If you look at my playlist, that's a fun one too. And that's a different form of folk art. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about symmetrical folk art. And again, not all folk art is symmetrical. But I will meet you back up at the easel. So I hope you enjoyed watching this episode today. And again, your art does not have to look like mine. I'm curious to see what types of symmetrical designs you came up with for this project. And please send pictures of your art into me. I have my email down there at the bottom of the screen. And I will see you next Thursday. And let's take one more look at that fabulous student art that you all have sent in. Bye.